What do you say are some of the biggest misconceptions about business success? You could even narrow it down to property success. What are these misconceptions and how can we bust them?
That you have to be a millionaire and come from a wealthy family in order to succeed. That's the first myth. And that myth couldn't be further from the truth. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people do have access to money. They are buying properties, but they live in them. They're not buying them so that they can rent them out. They are buying them and they live in them and then say there's no money to start a property business. But you are living in your capital. We are where we are as Africans because some politicians are stupid. And they've got a begging mentality.
When they have everything.
When they have everything they need.
Yeah, Africa has everything and yet people are begging for aid. Can you
Yes,
imagine?
it's because the leaders are stupid. The leaders are smart until they get into power. It's like the smartness disappeared. So if it means that you and I that are in business and are in industry, God has blessed us to be billionaires, like you say, I mean, you can only live on so much, isn't it? Yes. So the whole ethos and essence is, where can we make people's lives better?
This is Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We enthuse, we energize, we inspire, and we empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes in BW and beyond. All right. Okay, guys. Dumelang and welcome to all of you out there in cyberspace. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe, your host of this show, Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. It's now been running for more than 5 years, almost 6 years. It gives us a tremendous amount of pleasure that we are here at the Pond Restaurant, right in the center of the Central Business District in Botswana. It is a momentous occasion where we just hosted today. It's more than just money, business, and property seminar, where we had 3 speakers, including my guest, Mr. Witness Mdaka, and Ratsosa Seatla, or Seatla Ratsosa rather, and myself. It was a tremendous seminar. Don't you agree, guys, that it was a great seminar? Yeah. And this is the first time in history that after interviewing in excess of 600 entrepreneurs, difference makers, and trailblazers, I am doing it in front of a live audience. So I have a few butterflies rolling around in my stomach, but I think I can handle them because I get them to fly information. Ha ha ha. And then having said all that, let me ask you to do the honorable thing, which is to strike that subscribe button. It is honorable because it is only by you exercising that freedom of striking that subscribe button that we can remain relevant and be able to appear on this platform in terms of the algorithms, in terms of remaining relevant. My guest, Bakaitsu, is not the first time that he's been here. His name is Witness Mdaka, the author of this book right here. It's more than just money. He's not just the author of a book, he's the leader of a movement. It's a movement that has engulfed the whole of Southern Africa in terms of its impact. Millions of people follow him on social media. He is indeed a sensation. To give you an example, he appeared on the podcast. This is his second appearance. And after he appeared, he decided, man, now enough is enough. I'm opening and starting my own podcast. And he did start his own podcast. And it has indeed surpassed my podcast. It's a kind of competition that I love. And he's doing very, very well. Whereas I post 7 pieces of content a day, he probably posts about 20. So I have a long way to go to catch up with him. And congratulations for doing very well with this movement.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Mogobe. Good to be with you again. It's always a pleasure to have a chat with you. Now, this part of the day feels like I'm no longer working.
Well, they say that...
Because it becomes our normal chat.
Yes. It's just a normal chat. And it's 2.0 because we've had 1.0 about 2 years ago. And we're again conversing. But the good starting point is for those who may not know you to to get you to answer the question that if you are sleeping in the middle of the night and I was to prick you with a needle and just prick you and say, who is witness Mdaka? What would be your answer?
I'm a child of God.
Oh, okay.
I am a child of God who is preoccupied with serving God's other children. So when I sleep at night, that's my consciousness. When I wake up in the morning, that's my consciousness. What am I doing for God's other children? And that is the whole ethos of what I do in my existence when it comes to business, when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to authoring books, when it comes to starting movements, when it comes to starting a podcast, building a technology business, building a building. I'm constantly asking myself, in this very thing that I'm doing, how is it serving God's other children? And in the process, which of God's other children are even willing to pay for this thing? That's me.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the movement. It's more than just money. What does that expression mean to you? And how has it, as a philosophy, shaped your approach to life and your business and your approach to business?
So my approach to life is that as long as I do things that are valuable, I'm always going to get paid. So, and the reason I say it's more than just money. Money is a byproduct. There are certain things that you have to be and do as a person, and you must notice I said be and do, right? Be meaning you have to be a person of integrity. You have to be a person who's knowledgeable. You have to be a person that can connect with other people. You have to be a person that's hardworking. So you have to be this person in order to attract money. Because even when you employ a person in your company, right, you employ them because they are. You don't necessarily employ them because they studied. When you're talking to them, you want to see what has this education that they studied made this person to be. And that determines whether or not you can hire the person. Because there are a lot of people that have come into your office, Mr. Mogobe, and you decided not to hire them. Not because they were not educated, but because you didn't see what the education has made them to be. And that's the most important thing. On a daily basis, right? Instead of being preoccupied by money, who are you and how has your experiences, your knowledge, your wisdom translated into somebody that can easily attract money?
What inspired you to transition from, because from the first conversation we had, we became aware of your metamorphosis, as it were, from a student, from a worker, to an entrepreneur, a property entrepreneur. You have since transitioned from being just an entrepreneur to becoming an author and a podcaster. What motivated you, or what inspired you to become indeed more than just an entrepreneur?
So,
a property entrepreneur, for that matter.
Yes. So I think with everything that I do, I see it as a form of evolving into a different kind of entrepreneurship. And let me explain what I mean by evolving into a different kind of entrepreneur, right? So if you are self-publishing a book, you are literally taking up the role of an entire publishing company and saying it, you're going to do it by yourself. Or you're going to build a team that can successfully market and sell your book. Because usually, authors just enlist the services of a publishing company, which helps with the editing, which then helps with ensuring that that book is then marketed properly. Right? So when I took up the role, for instance, to become an author, it didn't end there, because I could have just written the book and given the script to a publishing company and wait for them to approve or disapprove of the script. But I said, my whole thing will be, if I write it, I'm going to build a business out of it. What is the business of publishing? How do I self-publish? And if I don't want to take my book through the traditional ways of taking through bookstores, can I outsell bookstores when it comes to this specific product? Yeah. Can I outsell the metrics that they've put in place. I'll give you an example. In South Africa, to be a bestseller, you have to sell 2,000 copies. Now I said to myself, but I can sell 2,000 copies in a week when I started. I gave myself that challenge, which means I had to embody the person who's a business person that's able to outsell the usual parameters that have been put in place, right? You talked about being a podcaster. Being a podcaster, as you may know, it's not just about sitting and talking with someone. Yeah. It's about understanding the philosophy around the message and whom you want the message to reach. What is the message for? And what's the intention behind the podcast? What is the intention behind the work that is being done? Same as when you wrote a book, you had an intention behind it. And I think the biggest thing for me, more than anything, is intention.
Well, this is good. Speaking of intention, in your book, it's more than just money. You emphasize mindset and personal growth. What are the top 3 mindset shifts? Or shall I say top 2 mindset shifts that you believe are essential for success?
Okay. One, the first shift is moving from external to intrinsic. And what do I mean by external to intrinsic? A lot of people always believe that by some way, luck, or form, success is going to come to them because somebody outside of themselves is doing something. Somebody must give me a better job. Somebody must give me a better deal. Somebody must give me a tender. Or if somebody can just connect me with someone. No, nobody's going to connect you with anyone. And your success is not tied to that. The mindset is, can I as an individual, right, build the kind of life that I want to build? Now, the answer to that is absolutely. And it starts from me developing core skills that I need as a person for me to be able to carry myself as a person that can attract the right people that are going to add value to me. We're driving here to Botswana and we're talking to my friend, my brother, and he said to me, do you want to meet the minister, a certain minister in South Africa? And I said to him, true story, this was my answer. Whether I meet the minister or I don't meet the minister, it's irrelevant. It changes nothing to my journey and my business. I can meet the minister for the purpose of meeting him as a person, but there's nothing that I need from him. I don't need him to connect me. I don't need him to give me a tender. I just need to meet him as a person because he exists as an individual that I can respect and he can respect me back. So, because I've made it my personal conviction that if I'm going to be successful at anything, let it be because I'm capable, not because I know someone. So the shift is shifting from who can do something for me to how many people can I do something for in order for me to prosper. You know, there's that quote of J.F. Kennedy that says, ask not what your country can do for you, but rather ask what you can do for your country. I embody that philosophy. I'm not looking for people to do stuff for me. I'm looking for enough people to do stuff for. You know, when it says, I think it's Zig Ziglar that said that you can have anything you want if you do something for enough people. Or if you help enough people get what they want. Yeah. That's the correct quote. You can have anything you want if you help enough people get what they want. So you know what that says? In my mindset, what shifted? What shifted was the fact that people are preoccupied with what they want for themselves. Whether you want to believe it or not. Yeah. It's about what they want. What can they get? How can they get it? And how can they sit on the can? Yeah. Right? So the question is, how can I put myself in a position where I get them what they want so that I can get what I want? Yeah. So if I want money, right? The question is, what do I have that other people are looking for? You know the story of a Shunammite woman in the Bible? Yeah. Right? You know, you and I can mix up the Bible every now and again, right? The Shunammite woman, her husband dies and she goes to the prophet. And she says, my husband is dead, my kids are about to be taken as slaves. The man of God says to her, what do you have in your house? He didn't say, what can you go look for? The first thing was what can you have? What do you have in your house? And she says, I have oil, a jar of oil.
Yes.
Then he tells her what she can go look for. He says, go borrow vessels. Now, vessels is what she didn't have. She had the oil, but she didn't have the vessels. The vessels speak to capacity.
Yes.
So she went to borrow capacity. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
She got the capacity, came and poured. For as long as the capacity was there, the oil kept flowing.
Wow.
For as long as you've got the capacity of sales, the capacity of marketing, the capacity of law. So I'm not a lawyer, but I can borrow the vessels of law from you.
Yes.
I'm not an engineer, but my brother that I came with is an engineer. I can borrow the vessels of engineering from him. So for as long as those vessels were there, the oil kept pouring.
What would you say are the other two mindset shift that are essential? I asked for three. You just gave me one.
I gave you a couple in different ways.
Yes, yes.
So here's what I'm saying with this story of the Shunammite woman. Here's the mindset. If you don't have something, find people who have it.
Yes, yes.
It's a mindset.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't necessarily have to say, I've got oil, but oh no, I don't have the vessels. You find people that have it so that you can, I mean, if you're building a multi-million rand property portfolio, you're not born with millions.
No.
You go to the bank.
Definitely, I wasn't.
Yes, so one mindset could be, I don't want to borrow from the bank. But the other mindset could be, borrowing is a form of leverage, and therefore I can accelerate my property investment portfolio or my business growth quicker than somebody who says they're not going to borrow. So it goes back to the everyday things that we are doing. What is the capacity that we can build out of that? And how big can the capacity get?
I like that. I like the way you are describing it. And indeed, that's a very important mindset. As a mindset shifts, as a businessman, what would you say are one of the most important lessons that you learned about building not just successful businesses, but building and sustaining a successful business?
You'll have to repeat the question. The mic is gone.
I'm saying, as a businessman, what's the most important lesson you've learned about building and sustaining a successful business? Not just successful, but sustaining.
Yeah. It's a long-term game. And because it's a long-term game, you have to be prepared for the temporary challenges. Because if you don't understand that it's long-term, anything that challenges you in the short term can make you give up. You are building a building and you run out of money. You've seen that happen, isn't it?
It can happen. It
It can happen, right? So if you don't have the end goal and you don't understand that sometimes running out of money for a project or getting out of budget, it's part of the game. It means I must go look for money.
Yes.
The long-term aspect of it is this building will get finished. It will generate enough money to pay itself back. But if you don't have the long-term goal in it, you end up stopping when you're supposed to be continuing because you don't have an idea of what the end goal is. So I always think about it. To be able to sustain it, I always think about the end goal. It makes the challenges bearable. As a business person, you're constantly building. You might not be building a building now, but you might be building a team. You might not be building a team, but you're building a marketing department. You might not be building that, but you're building a product. There's constantly something that you are building. So you have to preoccupy yourself with the idea of building things that are going to be sustainable and for the future.
Okay. Let's take a moment to bust some myths, to demystify some mysteries. What do you say are some of the biggest misconceptions about business success? You could even narrow it down to property success. What are these misconceptions and how can we bust them?
That you have to be a millionaire and come from a wealthy family in order to succeed. That's the first myth. And that myth couldn't be further from the truth. And the reason I say that is because A lot of people do have access to money. They are buying properties, but they live in them. They're not buying them so that they can rent them out. They are buying them and they live in them and then say there's no money to start a property business. But you are living in your capital. You bought it and you're living in it. That's the same capital you could have used for another building that's generating income. Number one. And number two, how do you bust the myth that says you only have to have millions and come from a wealthy family in order to start? It's not money that generates money. Money follows ideas, and ideas that are well executed. So the idea that you have to have a lot of money first before you generate money is a myth. If I'm building a platform and that platform has got 100 users and it's generating enough money, an investor that's smart is going to invest in that platform. Because already there's proof of concept. So you don't necessarily need money. You need a proof of concept. Prove a concept. This concept is working. I've tried it on a small scale. I can do it at an entry-level, mid-level scale. Can you help me get it to the next level? So funding is not a prerequisite for a business to prosper. Funding is there to scale a business. You start the business, make it work. The funding then helps you to take the business from that
then
level.
you belong to the same school of thought as me, that when you are starting, it's always better to bootstrap
Yes,
at the beginning.
yes, absolutely.
Why is that the case?
One, because you can have control of the mistakes. And what do I mean by that? It's one thing to make mistakes, and I've given you 10 million, Mr. Mkhulu. And it's another to make mistakes when the mistakes are not so costly. And then two, you also get to keep the company yours in the beginning stages. Because the quickest thing somebody says is they want shareholders, they want funding, they want venture capital, but you are diluting the equity very early in the business. What you need to do is make the business work so that when you are selling something that actually exists, because people don't understand this, right? When you're actually saying you want funders or investors, you are selling a business. You are selling a piece of the company. Now the question is, are you the right salesperson to do that?
Would you say there's a misconception or a myth that is uniquely South African that doesn't necessarily affect other cultures on business or in property?
There isn't any that I can think about now because there's a lot of re-education that has taken place in the South African business landscape. And I'm proud to say I'm part of the people that are at the forefront of educating South Africans when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. So when it comes to myths that are unique to South Africans, there aren't any that I know of right now, other than the fact that perhaps we want the government to give us housing. Or the government must take
what
care of
about
the
this
people.
myth? And here I'm going to poke a little at you.
Yes.
That sometimes if you don't speak Zulu fluently, there's something wrong with you, or somehow you are looked down upon, especially in the Gauteng area or in the KZN area, that you're expected to speak fluent Zulu.
Okay, so that's a myth, and it's exactly that, a myth, and I'll tell you why, right? There have been, let's say, actors that say in the acting industry, if you don't speak Zulu, you can't get gigs, as an example, right? Personally, I don't necessarily have to speak Zulu or any African language to do business. Because what language are we communicating in right now?
English.
So meaning my ethnic Tsonga language becomes irrelevant at the moment. And then your Setswana, which you are fluent in, becomes irrelevant at this moment. Meaning, if I was speaking to a Zulu-speaking person, I wouldn't be subjected to speaking Zulu. It would be irrelevant at that moment for the work that we are doing, right? But say, for instance, you want to do business in KZN and you want to navigate building in KZN, of course you have to speak Zulu. It's the same as somebody wanting to come to Botswana and do certain things in a certain way. They have to know how to speak to Setswana to a certain extent. You understand? So if I want to do business in Guyana, I'm Tsonga, I'm from Guyana, I know I need to be able to communicate with the locals. But on a high scale growing level, my ethnic background matters not. Your ethnic background matters not. All you have to do is speak to the right people. And the right people who understand business, they want to speak English. English is the connector, let's be honest. It's the international language. Yeah, what? So it's a myth, unless you are acting, of course, and you want a Zulu gig and the Botswana fair.
All right. Look, in my book, there's a whole chapter where I talk about a cataclysmic event that has really helped me in the end.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure whether in the book you do, but you do talk of setbacks here and there. But what I want for purpose of this conversation is to know what specific failure or setback in your career did you experience, and how you turned it around, and did you manage, as I think you did, use that failure as a stepping stone for growth or for greater success?
You're gonna have to repeat the question. The mic cut again.
The mic is playing games. No, what I want to know is there a particular setback that you turned into a stepping stone that you are willing to?
So there was a couple of times where we were speaking, and I said to you, I'm selling my properties, some of them, in order to reinvest in other projects. So I think for me, at that particular point in time, it was mainly because a project was short-stretched. There was no cash enough to finish that project, and I went into other resources and did what I didn't want to do, what I consider a setback, as selling what I had in order to reinvest. Though reinvesting in something else ultimately generates more money in the long term, I think finding myself, I've always been of the mindset that when you've bought a property, you don't have to sell it. You can keep it forever. Buy and hold. But now my mindset is different, because after I fell into that setback, I realized that sometimes selling property is part of doing property. Selling a business is part of doing business. Closing down a business that's not working is part of business. That's what I realized. And I think there's been a lot of setbacks on my personal end that I had to channel most of my energy in making sure that other parts of business, though it's challenging, are covered. You know? So I'll give you an example. You know that some setbacks, it's not because things are tough, but it's because you want growth. So growth can feel like a setback. You were doing well, you had your portfolio going on, and you decided you want a bigger project. Now you are strapped financially. But it's mainly because you wanted to grow your portfolio. You wanted to start a new business. You wanted to build bigger than what you have. Hence, you are in that situation, right? So I'm not one to shy away or be afraid of challenges. I embrace them because most of the time, I brought it up on myself. One friend of mine used to say to me, how come when you've built something, you don't sit and enjoy it? You always want to try to do something else. And I said, I love the constant growth that comes with overcoming new challenges.
So can you narrow it down and say where the setback is exactly and how you conquered it?
Where the setback is, I've explained.
The setback has to do with you thinking of selling part of your portfolio.
Yes.
And you did in fact sell it.
Yes.
At the time it was a setback, but then immediately you took those funds and reinvested them into the new venture. That was growth. It was no longer a setback. Yes. Now it was a stepping stone. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So what I'm saying is, remember, at the time I was selling, I did not want to sell. There was no desire to sell. But now things were tough because of a project that needed to also be finished. So projects are two-pronged, right? It's either you finish it and generate money, or it continues and it bleeds your bank account. So you find yourself in a slippery slope. You either grow or die. That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. So it's either this thing, you find ways to generate enough income to finish it, or if it continues the way it is, it's going to bleed you, it's going to bleed your property portfolio, it will bleed your business, it will bleed your reputation, because once that's gone, you cannot get it back. So it's a sink or swim kind of thing, whereby you say, let's sell here, but not because we want to, but because we've got a situation. But selling ultimately means we finish this thing, and it also means we can scale as quickly as we can, because now this thing is out of the way. That's what I mean.
So, just to make sure you're not speaking in parables, what is the status of that situation now?
No, it's sorted.
How do you mean? Can you be more specific?
The project is finished. What?
And it's generating the income levels that you projected.
It's generating the income levels that it's expected to. But remember also another thing, right? Your line of questioning, I understand where it's coming from. Because to you, you are still speaking to witness who's developing property. For me, I'm no longer that witness. I'm witness who's building technology companies. So that's where the difference is at the moment, right? For me, what scale means is not what scale used to mean the last time we spoke. What scale meant then, it meant more properties, more influence in the property industry. Whereby, for me, scale now means building a platform or platforms that I can plug into different African markets and different markets across the world. So that's my biggest challenge now. My biggest challenges now have got nothing to do with building a building or doing anything like that, right? My biggest challenges now is how do we take the product and make it work and scale it to 100,000 users, and 100,000 users paying X amount of money so that we can return investors' money. And then how do we then take that and take it into different African markets? So it's a different kind of challenge altogether. Still has to do with development, but it's a different kind of development.
It's tech now.
It's tech. So which means this is something I've never done before. I need to learn as quickly as I can about it, and I need to control the narrative and drive growth in this thing. Does it mean property is not the business I believe in? Of course it still is, because even the platform serves our property companies. But more importantly, my thinking is this. I can build buildings, right? I'll prosper, which is what I've done, right, to get to where I am. But nobody's going to remember. If I didn't go on social media, if I didn't write a book, if I didn't speak to you, nobody would know anything about me. Which means my success would serve me only. But if I build platforms that transcend borders, transcend generations, transcend skin color, then some way, somehow, I can have proper and real influence in the industry.
I want to unpack that one a little bit. It's very, very interesting. Two parts to my question. The first one is, after your last visit to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast, that conversation, how did it impact your trajectory, and what happened as a result of that discussion, and what unfolded? Second part of the question is, we here in Botswana, how can we be part of what you are growing and the new business thrust that you are now adopting?
I love that question because it speaks to evolving, right? So from the last conversation we've had, after, for instance, I didn't have a podcast when I had a conversation with you. Then we met, it was myself, you, DJ Spoo. Both of you were podcasters and authors, except me. I was an author, but I wasn't a podcaster. And I decided, I'm also going to do this thing. I'm also going to be a podcaster. And I kept on asking you, how do I get 4,000 subscribers? That's all I was asking. I kept on asking you guys questions around how do you grow and how do you scale? And you were answering. You said it would take a year. And I thought to myself, what? You took 1 year to have 6,000 subscribers. But remember, it's not the number of subscribers that matter. Same as you and I both know, it's not the million that matter. It's the person that you become in the process. So going back and taking up that challenge to build a podcast that now stands as number one in its category where I live in South Africa, because it is. Unless somebody who started it from scratch exactly the way it is has taken up that position, right? Having built that, from the conversation that we had, from about 4,000 subscribers to about 36,000 subscribers, for me spoke to scale and growth and focus if you focus on something long enough. Then the evolving came from shifting from just doing property in the traditional sense to doing property in a manner that can scale and truly make one a billionaire. Property development requires cash injection. Significant cash injection. Building platforms creates cash injections. Significant cash injection. You see the difference in the mindset there? One requires me to pour into it in order for it to pay back. Another requires me to pour not so much as the other one, but will generate more than the other is generated over the entire existence of it. What am I saying? Technology and building it in such a way that it serves other people is able to change people's lives, number one. And then number two, it's able to generate insurmountable amounts of money that can still be redirected into now building bigger and better projects in the property industry.
So
it's an ecosystem.
the second part of the question is, how can we as Botswana, in a simple way, explain it as if you explain it to an 80-year-old?
Yeah.
How can we become part of this revolution?
I love that. So 2 ways, right? 2 ways. So we've got, it's more than just money. As a movement, already me and you sitting here at the It's More Than Just Money Business and Property Seminar in Botswana, it's you as a Botswana, whom I consider a father to me in one way or another, saying we support It's More Than Just Money. We support what the message is about, and we want more people to do business. But hang on, from an African perspective, we're also creating a marketplace for It's More Than Just Money, where Africans can connect. Remember, my thinking is also technology now, where Africans can connect and sell to one another. Products, services. If you're selling mics, can you find customers that are in South Africa, Burundi, Uganda, on the It's More Than Just Money marketplace platform? It's technology. So supporting the work goes to what we are currently doing now. 2, on the property aspect of it, AdProp as a platform. It's a platform that can be used in South Africa, Botswana. Botswana must get onto adprop.co.za. Let them use it. And we can then start developing in such a way that it can also be used in a market like Botswana. Why is that important? One, it's important because it will make it easier for scale to take place for the people that are preoccupied with building portfolios. 2, it gives our platform reach and for us to be able to reach new markets and scale in such a way we can build businesses that we can be proud of as Africans. So my whole preoccupation is how many people are getting into business? How can we help them get into business using It's More Than Just Money and use It's More Than Just Money marketplace? How many people are getting into the property industry? How can we use It's More Than Just Money to facilitate that growth? How can we then use AdProp as a tech platform to help them manage and grow those portfolios? That's me.
Okay, and some of those answers can be found in the website. Again, can you just share a little bit of that?
Okay, so if you're looking for us, it's morethanjustmoney.com. It's More Than Just Money on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all social media platforms. Witness Mdaka.com or adprop.co.za. Engage with our platform. Look at how it can serve you as a Botswana. It's got a short-term listing aspect to it. So you could be here. There's a lot of people traveling from South Africa to Botswana every now and again. If you've got rooms that you want to use in a form of an Airbnb, list your room. Let South Africans see it. Let them pay through the platform.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I couldn't help noticing that you look physically fit. You seem to be a good-looking young man.
Fitter than the last time you saw me.
Can you tell us what your fitness regimen is, and how it assists you as a vehicle? Because of course, the Bible tells us this body is a vessel.
Yeah.
As a vessel, as a vehicle, and how tie the two together, the physical and the mental and the business side.
Yeah. So as you can see, I'm very high energy, right?
Yeah.
And part of my high energy is due to the fact that I treat myself as an athlete. Whatever I'm doing, I think of myself as an athlete. I don't say I need to gym. I say I'm an athlete. And what does an athlete do? They train Monday to Friday. Or they train every day. So I go to gym Monday to Friday. Why is that important to me? The mindset around that is that I want to be alive in the next 25 years to walk my daughter down the aisle. So if I don't take care of myself, eat right, I might not be alive. So I want to be alive. So my faith must be consistent with my actions. And my actions must be consistent with my faith. It's like a guy who says they are believing God for money, but they're gambling all their money away. You are believing...
You are counteracting what God is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I can't say I want to be alive in 25 years' time. But I eat everything and anything under the sun. Right? And part of that fitness, you win the battle mentally first before you win it in the boardroom or anywhere else. Or in the marketplace. My thing is, if I can challenge myself to be disciplined, because you saying to me, you know what you just said to me? When you say to me, I look good, right? I'm a good-looking young man. It means you are saying to me, here's what I'm hearing. Witness, you are disciplined. You are disciplined enough to gym. You are disciplined enough to eat well. You are disciplined enough to quit vices. You are disciplined enough to carry yourself as the person you want to be. That's what I'm hearing. So, meaning if I want to look handsome, I must gym. I must eat well. I must exercise. And I must look dangerous.
Why dangerous?
So, here's the thing. It is said that there's a study that was done, right? And they were interviewing molesters. And they asked them, why did you molest those kids? And the guy said, because their father didn't look like a threat. So with me, you must know very well that I'm capable of being dangerous. And I'm capable of being a threat. And I'm capable of killing for my own kids, if need be. And why do I put it that way? I put it that way because it's very important. Now we're talking masculinity. Now we're moving. It's very important for men.
Normal masculinity, not toxic
No,
masculinity.
not toxic. It's normal for a father to protect. It's normal for a father to provide. It's normal for a father to say, take one step closer to my daughter, I will shoot you. That must be normal. But it's not normal for a father to abuse. It's not normal for a father to kill innocent people. It's not normal for a father to, how can we put this? To overshadow something that he needs to be shedding light on. So my thinking around that is, as a man, exercise, look good, make money, right? Have a strong mentality, mindset, whatever the world is going to throw at you. Be strong enough to handle it mentally. Because the people that ultimately abuse women and children, what are they saying? They're ultimately saying they're not strong enough to handle their emotions. And one of the places you can learn to handle your emotions is at the gym. If you're angry, and isn't it funny that the guy can slap his wife, right? But go to the workplace, he can't slap his female boss. But he says to his wife, I couldn't control myself. Why at work he's able to control himself? No matter how annoyed he is. Do you get my point? So learning to build your value as a man, learning to build yourself up as a man in areas where you think you might lack is actually quite important as well. Other than just the financial aspect. What's the point? So I always share these, Mr. Mogobe. I said, as a man, personally, I don't know about other men, but me as a man, I'm not their prototype, but I'll be my own prototype. If I have faith in God, one, it's the first one. I know I'm making progress. Faith in God. Two, a family that loves me. Three, finances. My finances are intact. I'm making money. I'm doing business. I'm engaging in the preoccupation of industry. Four, good friends. Friends that I can rely on, that they can rely on me, that are smart. If they were to say there's an emergency in Johannesburg right now, I've got people that I can call, and they're able to go bend the entire Johannesburg for my kids. Wow. That's what I want, and I'll
Wow.
do that for them.
Wow.
Number five, fitness. What's the point of having faith in God? You've got a family that loves you, you've got money, friends that support you and you support them, but you can't breathe because you don't exercise and you eat everything under the sun. You need to have enough health to enjoy what you are building. Right?
So on this subject, because I think it's important, what do you think is the biggest vice that trips up would be successful business persons? Where is the gripe, so to speak, the weakness? Where is that vice? And what do you think can be done to overcome it?
Let me speak for myself, right? So, you have to study your life and say, what do I need to eliminate? Not what do I need to be. What do I need to eliminate in order for me to be? Why do I say that? So, if you know that alcohol slows you down, you know, you personally, you know that having a hangover in the morning slows you down. It's a vice, isn't it?
Some people, the whole weekend is gone.
The whole weekend is gone. So, meaning, here's this smart, strong, intelligent young man that could be doing twice as much as he is, but he can't because he's drunk. He can't because he's got a hangover. He can't because he smoked weed. He can't because he's got 10 girlfriends. It's vices, whether we like it or not. Because the energy that you could be spending building your company, you are trying to strategize how your wife must not find out you are cheating with 10 women. That's a lot of work. It's mental energy.
A lot of it.
It's mental energy that you could be applying in your business. So it means you are a business strategist. You've got 10 locations.
To keep track.
Yeah. You've got 10 locations, and you are strong at keeping the locations going, but you can't run a business. And you're even so good that all the locations can't even find out about each other. But they're running successfully.
It takes a lot of brain power.
It takes a lot of, meaning you are intelligent.
To remember all these lies that you have to speak.
But the intelligence is channeled and the energy is channeled into something that's not going to generate money in any way for you.
Yeah, that's why I like a chapter in the book Think and Grow Rich, where Napoleon Hill talks about sexual transmutation, where he says it's okay, recognize it, you are tempted, you are inclined to go after this, but redirect that energy onto your business, onto your work. And he calls it transmutation. I wonder whether you have any thoughts on that one.
Well, it's true, and the most important thing is, you are right, recognizing it. As a young person, am I saying I'm all perfect, I don't get tempted? Of course, I get tempted. And you know, sometimes when you get tempted, it means the body is still working. Yeah. That's why you're able to get tempted. But what's the big goal? I think as a young person, one always has to have something that they know for a fact they're going to lose if they do the other thing. It's called, what's this? Opportunity cost in economics. What is the opportunity cost, let's say, of me chilling with 10 partners?
Let's say 2 or 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3, right? Or 10. I know guys who've got 7, 10. They don't have a problem, right? But the opportunity cost is lost time that you could be spending building your business, and how much more would your business generate for you? Even if you're a millionaire or multi-millionaire now, how much more money could you be making with that energy? Unless you've decided you're a polygamist, you've got homes, it's a different story, right? But that too takes intelligence.
Like your former president, right?
Yeah, like my former president, yes, he officialized it. So he doesn't have to strategically lie to anyone. That's the point I'm making. You don't have to strategically lie to 10 locations. Everybody knows there are 10 locations. They call you, where are you? I'm at location number 5. Yeah. So brain power is spent in doing things that can propel you as a person.
All right, moving right along. What role does mentorship and, community, getting involved in mentorship play in your setup, and how does it add to your support system? I'm looking at myself where mentorship, we run 2 mentorships, real estate and entrepreneurship. Both of them are part of the pillar of what we're about, and part of the reason we are even here today, having this, it's more than money business. And most of the people who attended, or a good number of them, are my mentees.
Yes.
They are part of the ecosystem. So I'm curious to hear what role it plays in your situation.
So I have a mentor for every area of my life where I want to enter into. I even have mentors for relationships. So there's someone I look at and say, I like the relationship he has with his wife, but he's a stupid businessman. He must mentor me in relationships. Or I like his business acumen, but he's a stupid father. So I don't want to hear his fatherly advice. I want to hear how he built his business. My mind is that clear. Or there's that guy, he's very good at technology. Like for instance, I've got a mentor on the technology aspect of our business. His name is Robert McPherson. He's an American guy. So he funds startups. That's the right guy to mentor me, to build this thing into a technology platform that can dominate. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah. But I'm not going to go ask that guy about property. When it comes to property, he knows nothing. He must ask me. Yeah. It's clear. Know where to categorize people. You know one thing a lady mentor taught me? It's funny. He was even talking about... Are you sure you want me to say this? He was talking about male and female relationships, right?
I'm sure I want to hear this.
And she said to me, she's an older lady, she's a doctor. And I said to her, I like 2 women at the same time, at the time. And she said to me...
In French, it's called ménage à trois.
Ménage à trois.
Yeah.
Oh, is that where monate trois comes from?
Yeah, but that's...
So,
that's
ménage à trois, I tell her. So, I'm stressed at that time. And she said to me, so what's the problem? I mean, I don't agree with the philosophy, but that was a philosophy there. What's the problem? Put them where they belong. I'm like, what do you mean put them where they belong? If you like this one for her beauty, categorize her. You like her for her beauty, but she's not intelligent. She's dumb. You like this one for her intelligence, but she's not so beautiful. Put it like that. She's your ugly duckling. Those were her words, by the way. They are not my words.
Yeah. You don't necessarily believe that.
No, I don't necessarily believe it, but it's exactly what she said. Yeah. And I thought, wow, it's a woman telling me this thing. But I took that and said, in every area of your life, categorize people. Don't expect, for instance, I come to you, you're an attorney, you're a property mogul, I'm expecting you to teach me about building technology platforms. Can you see I'm misguided?
Completely.
I'm misguided. You understand? I will judge you as a fish by your ability to climb a tree if I do that. But if I come to you for exactly what you are able to give me, I benefit from the mentorship. Remember, the conversation is mentorship. Yes. I benefit from the mentorship where I put you in my life where you belong. I know Mr. Mogobe is very smart when it comes to property. He's an attorney. When I want to talk property-related projects and advice, even when I sold my properties, I came to you. Yes, we spoke about it. We had a long discussion about it. Indeed. So It's about that. For me, it's about that. It's about who can I speak to? I can't go to speak to my uncle who's doing chicken dust, frying chickens, and ask him about property. He's going to tell me how risky property is. But I've got an uncle that I can go to and speak to about property.
It's very interesting. You answered it in a very comprehensive fashion. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
What is the one piece of advice? I heard you ask Seatla this question. I'm going to hit you with it. What's the one piece of advice that you wish you had received earlier in your life or in your career? Or looking back, what is your current self able to advise your earlier self, say in your teens or early 20s?
Don't pivot. Don't pivot too early. So when I look at my journey, I'm multi-gifted. So, and the problem with multi-gifted people sometimes, you can find yourself doing 5, 10 things at the same time. It's like having 10 girlfriends, like I told you, because a business is like a girlfriend. It needs attention, it needs money, it needs care, it needs scaling, it needs growing, it needs mentorship. Your employees need to be mentored.
Tender loving care.
It needs tender loving care.
TLC.
You see how they say a woman is an incubator, right? You give her a sperm, she gives you a baby. You give her groceries, she gives you food. You give her a house, she gives you a home. A business is exactly like that. Whatever business you give yourself to will give itself back to you. What do I mean by that? You take your money, you buy land. You invest in the land. You build a building. What are you doing? You are giving, giving. And what does it give you itself back to you as equity, as capital gains, as rental income, as growth, as sales income if you sell it, appreciation, depreciation, all of those things. It's the business saying, you took time and gave yourself to me, I'm going to take time and give myself to you. Whatever it is that you preoccupy yourself with and give yourself to, you give yourself to a podcast, trust me, you will be known as a podcaster across borders.
I'm beginning to call me Mr. Nuggets.
Of course you are Mr. Nuggets. You are Mr. Nuggets. Sometimes I get into an Uber and the guy just adjusts the mirror and says, oh, it's more than just money. Because on my Uber I'm not using my name, I'm using my Tsonga name.
Yeah.
Right? So the guy just adjusts and says, oh, mister, it's more than just money. It's because that thing now transcends even borders. You understand what I mean? Whatever you give yourself to, that's my philosophy, will give itself back to you.
So that's the advice you give. If you had taken that advice or had received that advice, what would you have done differently?
You know, for instance, I'm able to give this advice because I went through what I went through. So I think I would only take this advice after going through it. Why do I say that? I did in fact give myself to start. I didn't drink alcohol for 10 years in my 20s. So I spent my time building a business. I spent my time building my reputation. I was able to write this book in 2 months and it becomes a bestseller and it changes lives because there's a preoccupation of stuff I was doing in my 20s that allowed me to write this book at 30. So had I not done that, I wouldn't have written this masterpiece.
So in other words, you wouldn't have changed anything as such.
Mr. Mogobe, now if you give me back my life and say change something, to be honest, I won't change anything. I would only change how I treated some people. Right?
How do you mean?
If there could have been a better reaction to situations, I'll give a better reaction. If there could have been a loving way of saying stuff, I'm very blunt. You can hear even how I talk. Yeah. I'm blunt, right? But sometimes bluntness is not ideal in some situations. So I'll change that. I'll tweak it.
As we get closer to the end of our conversation, I'm looking at you and the moves you are making. It seems to me you are heading to becoming a billionaire or even a multi-billionaire. When you attain that
I receive.
Yeah. When you attain that status, what is it that will be different what is it exactly that we can look forward to when you become a billionaire and a multi-billionaire?
So here's the thing. I want to put where my money where my mouth is. I say I am passionate about helping young Africans unearth their potential. So if that's my ethos, and that's what I believe in, Mr. Sattler spoke about giving to causes that are important to you, not just any cause. So for me, any cause that helps young Africans unearth their potential, I'm going to give to that. If it means building movements, investing in governments, even investing money in ensuring that the right people are in power, I will do it.
You mean sponsoring politicians?
The right ones. Because I don't think Africa needs stupid politicians. We are where we are as Africans because some politicians are stupid. And they've got a begging mentality.
When they have everything.
When they have everything they need.
Yeah, Africa has everything and yet people are begging for aid. Can you
Yes,
imagine?
it's because the leaders are stupid. The leaders are smart until they get into power. It's like the smartness disappeared. So if it means that you and I that are in business and are in industry, God has blessed us to be billionaires, like you say, I mean, you can only live on so much, isn't it? Yes. So the whole ethos and essence is, where can we make people's lives better? And how can we influence having the right kind of leaders in society? You see, in 20 years' time, I will be 55 years old. I want to be a 55-year-old that is a South African that nobody, including the president, especially the president, can make a decision without calling. I want to be that guy. I want in 20 years' time, the president, before he makes a major decision, I want to be that guy he calls. Now, in 20 years' time, or 30 years' time, our current president might not be there. Some of the people that are politicians might not be there. So I want to prepare myself to say, myself and the people that are my age group, how are we positioning ourselves to lead the most powerful nation in Africa? And to transform Africa to be one of the most powerful continents. It doesn't happen by accident. There must be a cultivated plan from all of us working together. You are in Botswana, I'm in South Africa, that guy is in Kenya. What are we doing to build an Africa that nobody has to run away from?
This is wonderful. This is wonderful. Another question I have for you, sir, as we about to close, is there was a conversation that a journalist had with Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
And they said, Jeff Bezos, you are doing very well. You seem to be very busy. How do you maintain work-life balance? And then Jeff Bezos responded by saying, I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in work-life harmony, which means it's not about distributing equal portions of time or energy to different parts, like family this much, business this much, sports this much, you know. It's about harmonizing, which I thought was a powerful answer. Have I answered your question for you, or you have a different philosophy?
I believe in work-life balance. I just don't have it. Otlaka is laughing. I just don't have it. You know, if I was to balance, it means tonight I must see my daughter. Where am I going to see my daughter? I left her at home. You understand? But I believe in this. Where you are supposed to put the time at that moment, be there and put it there. So I'm not here and thinking about home. I'm here. I'm engaged. When I'm home, I won't be thinking about this podcast. I won't be thinking about you. As much as I love you, I'll be home, focused on my daughter, focused at home. When I leave the house and go to the office, I'm there. That's the balance I'm talking about when I say balance. Right? So if it means I'm 8 hours or 16 hours at a place, we started this work today at 10 a.m., right? We're approaching 8 o'clock. That's almost a 12-hour day.
And it's like we've just started. Me, I can go for another 8 hours.
I can go for another 8 hours too. You know why? I'm here. I made a decision that I'm going to be here. Whether my shoes are sore, whether my feet are hurting, whether my throat is tired, I'm here. When I leave here, I will not fantasize about, I should have done this, it's gone. So my balance is exactly that. Where I am, I give it 100%.
But
Except holiday. Sometimes I'm on holiday fantasizing about being at home or being at work.
all right. Does Witness Mdaka have hobbies and pastimes or things that ordinarily other people are not aware of? Or things that you haven't posted about yet on social media?
Yeah. So I do have hobbies. I do what they call Krav Maga. You know Krav Maga?
No.
So it's a Israeli defense technique. It's the Israeli army actually do Krav Maga. It's like martial arts, but they call it Krav Maga. I do
More
that.
deadly, isn't it?
It's deadlier, yeah. So if I grade and get the belts, I'll be a walking weapon.
You may have to register your hands as lethal weapons for insurance purposes.
Yes. So I do that for fun. I do that because I enjoy it. I haven't been doing much of it lately, but it's something I enjoy doing, you know. What else do I enjoy? I love traveling. You know, funny enough, right? When I travel to a place and the GPS just takes me on some gravel road, like when I was coming to Botswana, and I was alone at night at 12 o'clock in some gravel roads, and the road was, and I'm like, where the hell am I? But at that moment, I was enjoying the adventure. I don't know if you get it. I was enjoying the adventure, and when I got to the border, I called my brother. I'm like, hey, I made it through, man. But there was no network. But that sort of adventure, stuff like that, I enjoy it.
I would venture to suggest that's a little bit risky and dangerous.
I'm not scared of death. I'm not scared of death. I kid you not. Even if it was to confront me today, I'm ready. I don't have a problem. So I'm not going to live my life in fear of anything or anyone. No, I won't put my life in risk deliberately, but I'm not scared.
If it happens.
If it comes, it's time. It means God is saying you are done, my man. Your time is up.
How did you overcome what people would call fear of death?
I lost my sister when I was 11. I lost my brother. My sister was 18 when she passed. I lost my brother when I was 16. He was 22 when he passed. I'm 35. I broke a record, man. So I can't be scared. I mean, I've been in situations where people say, if you don't do 1, 2, 3, we're gonna kill you. Try something else. Because I'm not scared of death. According to me, I broke a record. I'm almost 36. I'm turning 36 this year. It means I've lived my sister's life twice. Wow. To me, it means wherever she is in heaven, she's looking at me and saying, that guy is living my dream life. I could have been twice as alive.
You said something that has intrigued me, that you've been in situations where people were saying they're threatened to kill you.
Yeah. I mean, people threaten. People say stuff.
Oh.
You know? People say stuff. Here's the thing, right? If you're going to live your life fearfully, you're not living. You are dead before you even live. So for me, it's, am I in my purpose, and am I willing to die irrespective of what happens? So that's where my thinking and my mindset is. So if I'm driving at some place or I'm somewhere and it's late, am I scared? Yeah, fear comes. I mean, it's normal, right? At that moment, am I scared of death? Like, if it comes, it comes.
Let's go back to business as we wrap up. I keep saying that, but we're about to wrap up.
Yeah.
What's the most important part or the most rewarding part of having a successful podcast and having a successful book? What would you say are the biggest perks?
Apart from the perks, I'll say it's affirmation of what I've always believed about myself. That I'm a successful man, period. So what does that mean? If I really want to do something, I'm going to do it because I'm a successful man. Right? So if I do something and it succeeds, it's proof of that affirmation that
Concept, yeah.
I believed I'm a successful man. The book, It's More Than Just Money, is successful. It means what I believed about myself is true. We've got a successful podcast. It means what I believed about myself is true. We're able to do seminars even across borders. It means that belief about me is true. And the perks.
So it gives you validation.
You know what the perks are? So I was going to Cape Town. I'm at the airport. It's so full. One guy came. He works for AXA, Airports Company, South Africa, held me by the hand and said, because you changed my life, you can't stand in queues. You are too important. He took me through to the front. They assisted me. He took me through to the boarding gates, opened priority, and I passed the queue like I'm a diplomat. Those are the perks. But it only comes by how many people have you served. Last example, I'm at Spa with my daughter. We're buying groceries, and she's buying all sorts of unnecessary toys as usual, and I'm allowing her, because I'm conditioning her brain not to hear no for stuff like that. You know, my daughter even thinks I'm as rich as Elon. I kid you not. The other time, there's a video of that. I was talking about Motsepe, and I said, Motsepe, your family will expect you to be like Motsepe. She said, who's Motsepe? And I said, Motsepe is the wealthiest man in South Africa. He says, is he richer than you? And I said, he is. She's like, never. So, back to the story. We get there, she's buying stuff. I'm on the queue. One guy and his wife came up to me and said, we own some properties because of you. I'll pay for your groceries. You don't have to pay. So those for me are perks. Wow. Somebody paying for your groceries. Someone swiping your groceries.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
So it's
yeah.
And at that moment I'm with my daughter. It's teaching her something. Do you get what I mean? For me, that lesson is more important than anything. Remember, ultimately, our lives must be a lesson to our kids. I can go out. What's the point of going out, teaching the whole world, building up communities, and I'm not teaching my own daughter? The Bible says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose himself?
Yeah, lose his own soul.
His own soul.
Yeah.
This here is my soul, remember. My soul, her soul. Why?
Yeah.
So it has to start there. And there, it can't be said by a mouth. It needs to be modeled. What you've done for your kids is powerful. It's modeling.
Yeah.
I can say it to you, but I can't say it to her. You know why? She's the first person that can call me a hypocrite. My dad, he just talks.
Yeah.
I know that guy. So even you, your wife, if Mr. Mogobe, your wife comes to me and says, you're a hypocrite, I must believe it.
Yeah. No,
she knows you more than anyone.
Thankfully, she would never say that.
I know she would. No, I've met your wife.
I'm kidding.
I know she would never say that. But it's because of the modeling. Do you get my point? So if you were modeling a different kind of life to her, you can't blame her for saying that.
This is the first that is coming out, and I believe in speaking things to reality. We've had a successful seminar here, and we've had a discussion. I have no permission from either of you to make it public, but I felt that I should. What is the plan for It's More Than Just Money, and what is about to manifest between Sataratsusa, myself, and you regarding this movement, regarding similar seminars? You heard it here first. You heard it here first. He's about to reveal something fairly shocking, something fairly interesting, but very exciting.
I'm even sweating.
Yeah.
So if you're watching through the cameras, you see me sweating. It's heated up here. But jokes aside, the plan is for us to do these. It's more than just money movement seminars bi-monthly in Botswana, so that we can really get traction, and so
Even
that
across Southern Africa.
even across Southern Africa, because that's the plan. You guys coming down to South Africa, we go to Botswana, Kenya, Zambia, Angola. That's the plan. We want to. So, me and Seattle, we want to use you.
I want to use you, the two of you.
And we want to use you in this way. Everything that you know, we don't want you to die with it. In 30, 40, 50 years' time when you go, we want you to live empty and having transferred all of it to the African child. How to build skyscrapers. You're going to build a new city. You are hearing it here for the first time. How
Yes,
to
of
build
course.
new cities. All of that. We want it to be transferred to the African child.
Wow. Exciting future.
So we want to
indeed.
work. We'll work.
Yeah.
We are not lazy men. We are willing to put in the work. We're going to put in the work.
All right. Is there any other project that we can look to in a decade or two from Witness Mdaka?
At prop.
That's the main thing.
At prop. So when you think of me, think two things. Think it's more than just money, marketplace. Think ad prop. I told my team, and as I was telling my brother, I don't want unnecessary meetings. It must be ad prop. It's more than just money. If it's about a property, it must be a property we already have. I don't want to buy any new property right now.
Even if it's a deal of a lifetime.
Of course, if it's a deal of a lifetime, we can flip it, you know.
There are exceptions to every rule.
Of course, I've got the skill for it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I can spend a bit of time cooking it and taking it above board. So that can be done.
Yeah. All right. We always have a bit where you get to ask me a question. That tradition has not changed.
Yes.
You can hit me with a question, sir.
I'll ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
Number 1, what is it that can make you take up a challenge bigger than you? Number 2, if you were to do one thing with your life.
No, let me answer one at a time.
Okay.
Yeah. Ask
What,
it again.
what can make you take up a challenge bigger than you?
If I'm being confronted with a challenge and I'm able to execute it with high energy, impactful and excited team, even if I'm of the view that the challenge is daunting, the challenge is risky, of course I will not risk the company, the whole company, but I'm more inclined to take that challenge if I see enthusiasm, energy from the team. So the thing that gets me going is having suggestions, inputs, or ideas for that challenge coming from my team members, and they show high energy and enthusiasm. I'm more inclined than not to go for it if they show enthusiasm to execute on that challenge.
Okay. So, second question. If you were to do one thing with your life, what would it be?
I'm already doing it. To try to live a life of example, to try and live a life which my ethos made up of 4 corners: enthuse, energize, inspire, and to empower is involved. As long as I'm involved in activities that do that, I'll go for it. My wish and my aim is to have as many people intoxicated by that energy, that desire as possible, so that we grow the ecosystem and we have people heading in one direction. Quite often, leading people sometimes is like heading cats. You know, one cat this way, that way. So I'm challenged as a leader to now get teams and to work on teams that are working in unison towards this direction. And I'm glad to report that indications are that we're getting there.
That's amazing. Number 3, if you were to meet God one day, what would you like him to congratulate you for? You know, when the Bible says, he said to the guy, well done, good and faithful servant. What would you want him to congratulate you for?
I would like him when I say, and it says somewhere in scripture, that I fought a good fight. And I want him to agree and say, yes, son, yes. Opportunity number one was given your direction, and you took it and you ran with it. Opportunity number two, you did this with it. Because my belief is that God is constantly providing opportunities and I don't know whether windows of opportunity, they come and go. And if you don't take those windows of opportunity, sometimes we disappoint him. So don't want to disappoint God when it comes to the fact that he gave me opportunities to serve, opportunities to give service. I want to be able to do that. So in terms of my conversation with God, I'm having it every day when I pray. But I think the one that is special is when you are at the pearly gates and you are going through there. First of all, going through there, finding your name in that book, and then being told that you fought a good fight. I would like to hear that. That's the way I look at it.
You have kept the faith.
And I've kept the faith. That's the rest of the verse. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for answering me. That's inspiring.
Yeah. Now, as always, I think your camera is this one. Hey, there's so many cameras, but I think yours is this one. That one. First of all, you are supposed to look at that camera and leave the viewer with one all-encompassing message, encapsulating perhaps today and encapsulating something uplifting for the viewer.
So it's like this. Selfishness only works if it benefits other people. Selfishness doesn't work if it benefits you only. And what do I mean by that? If making money is your way of being selfish, understand that it has to be tied with serving other people and creating products that are going to make their lives easier so that they are willing to pay you so that you can have the money. So in your endeavor to be selfish, understand what other people need and give it to them. Partner with them so that you too can prosper as you make their lives meaningful to live. Thank you for having me on the Nuggets of Wisdom podcast for round 2. And I hope I added value. I appreciate you and I appreciate it.
You went over and above, but before you go, you have to give people all your contact details.
Yeah.
You have to tell them where they can get the book, even at what price.
You can find me at www.adprop.co.za. You can find me at witness@adprop.co.za. Or you can find me at itsmorethanjustmoney.com. You can also find me at witnessmdaka.com. You can also find me on all our social media platforms, Witness Mdaka, It's More Than Just Money, as well as 062-766-5612, 062-766-5612 from me and Mr. Mogobe. Thank you for having me. It's More Than Just Money.
Before I go, please do the honorable thing. You know what that means. Press that subscribe button. We keep giving you all this value, and we are dedicated to giving you this value. Just give us your finger on the subscribe button. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Bye-bye.